Our next poet tonight is Toto Zaremba, a performing poet, storyteller, and author of Angel of the Harbor, a Christmas story set in Scituate Harbor. She hosted the Duxbury Poetry Circle and currently hosts the Scituate Poetry Circle. Chris loves to read her poetry wherever people will listen and can be heard later this month at the Poetry Marathon at the Cape Cod Cultural Center. Chris, we are ready to listen.
It's great to be here tonight. Thank you. So my first poem is about why I write. It's called Words. My words refuse to sit quietly in my brain. They play with each other, constantly bantering, especially at night, while they run back and forth across my pillow, held over my ears to quiet their volume. Most days it's useless to ignore them. They rush out of me down my arms onto my fingertips and search for a pen, then onto any willing or even unwilling surface that will allow their creative dance, their ramblings, their rants. A white computer screen, paper hiding in my desk, a leftover napkin, a dusty dashboard, all merely a plaything for my words. My words, they can get me to pull over on the side of the road, to let them jump out, jump up and down, mocking the oncoming traffic, just so they can have their say. My words, there's no holding them back. After a few shots of Jack in a bar, that's unfortunate enough to have an open mic that night. They will show off, shout out, stand under the table, and wow a few drunk people, especially if they are dirty that night. My dirty words, I try to keep those for the bedroom, but sometimes they just slip out. My words, they get me into trouble, and then they talk their way out of it. They'll make you smile, they'll make you reflect, they'll give you comfort, they'll teach you a thing or two. They're powerful creatures. Just looking out at this audience, I can see they got you, and you're hanging on every one of my words. This one is about especially guys who like to do things with their hands. It's called Cleaning My Pipes. He came to clean my pipes today, a toolbox in his hand. I opened my front door to him, a very good-looking man. He followed me to my bedroom. The pipes were beyond that door. He hung his hat upon the hook. He laid his tools upon my floor. I asked if I could watch him work, or if he prefer I look away. He smiled, a bad boy smile, and told me I could stay. He began to unscrew the first pipe, his hands so big and strong. A bead of sweat rolled down my face. He asked if something was wrong. Leaning over above the tub, down upon his knees, he asked me to hold his wrench so he could get a tighter squeeze. His arm, it rubbed against my thigh as I held the wrench so tight. The faucet let out a boom. Water gushed with all its might. We laughed to ease the tension as we stood there dripping wet. I handed him a towel, but he had not finished yet. He cleaned my pipes, packed up his tools, and said that was quite an afternoon, and that he'd be back another day to clean my other pipes real soon. This one's called Let Go. He set the pace. She walked the path beside him. It was grass-covered, sometimes rocky. In order to get by the obstacles, they held hands. Those hands held their world. She set the boundaries, he pushed the limits. It was the push and pull of a marriage, the highs and lows and highs again. In order to get by the obstacles, they held each other. Sometimes they held on to hope, sometimes for dear life. He went ahead, she fell behind. It was an unexpected part of their journey. It was a hard lesson to learn. In order to get by, sometimes you have to let go. And in talking about him, he was a musician, This one's called Strings. He always pulled at my heartstrings. He kept one wrapped around his little finger as he fingered the strings on his guitar. He stretched that string to its breaking point when he walked out the door. No strings could bind him, no strings attached, no one to string along. Along the way, one way, way outside, figuring it out. Living on a string, strumming a tune on the sidewalk as people walked by, barely noticing he was playing real good for free. Free, strapped to a guitar, strung out by a tune, strung out by the devils in his head, heading down the wrong path on a country road in life that twists and turns, but never really brings you back to that long and winding road that leads you home. Homeless, left with one string homeless, left with one string left to strum, the one he kept wrapped around his finger, the one that once held my heart. And this last one, I wrote last night in the darkness. I have notebooks everywhere because it just falls out of me sometimes. So it was dark, and I didn't want to turn the light on to bother my partner. So I scribbled it in the notebook next to my bed, and I didn't know if I was even going to be able to read it when I woke up, but I did. It's called Covers. Sheet, blanket, comforter. In the darkness, he slept. I started my nighttime dance. Covers on, covers off, covers on. Sheet, blanket, comforter. My hands stretched out for the button of the floor fan on my side of the bed. Sheet, blanket, comforter.